Okay. And finally, you got everything all set. Let's cut to the main screen. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, sorry, it's another late stream today. Yeah. Had a ton of stuff behind the scenes. So, yeah, got a little sidetracked and all that jazz. But, yeah, let's get to art. Got plenty of stuff to sketch out tonight, so let's get to it. Let's go ahead and find some reaction fodder. Oh, looks like art bite's gonna be revealed in a couple days. Oh god, that's gonna be insane. Alright. Oh, King Fascio has a new video up. Let's go ahead and watch that. I discovered this dude's videos relatively recently. Predictably enough through his high guard coverage. And what do you know, he's actually pretty funny.
1974 book.
Alright, let's okay, there we go. Alright. Let's get started.
In the 1974 book Anarchy Stating Utopia by philosopher Robert Nozick, a thought experiment is presented. If you could enter a machine that would give you any experience you desired, feeling completely legit, and having no ideas within a simulation, winning the lottery, being famous, losing your virginity, would you do it?
Yes.
Majority refuse. 70% of people, when asked, say no. Mark Zuckerberg bet otherwise, because what do humans...
Yeah, that experiment that we all kind of learned through the Matrix. And I mean the actual Matrix, not the bullshit one that the Manosphere continuously tries to peddle.
Psychologists know about human behavior better than totally human Mark Zuckerberg. He drinks water like this.
Never let the meme die.
The most powerful lizard man in the entire world, who could never make friends IRL because he was antisocial, so his response was to make the rest of the world antisocial with a multitude of different business and tech ventures, majority of which being failure. From his most recent one, the topic of this video, to the first one he's ever made, face math. Developing the website in his time at Harvard, putting images of students side by side, and asking people to vote on who was hotter, it would be taken down in about 4 hours for violating people's privacy, a lesson that he would not fucking learn in his second business venture, Face.
He never did.
Look, I'm sure the higher-ups at Harvard were very nervous to see Zuck make a second website with the word face on it. It would be sued for violating people's privacy 3 years later. Launching exclusively for Harvard students in 2004 before opening up to the general public in 2006 as one of the first social media platforms after MySpace, and I would make a joke saying, remember MySpace, like everyone else does in this context, but I can't because I don't. I was 2 months old during its launch. And while MySpace had its time in the limelight, Facebook
I never used
is
it
where
either.
social medias really took off, locking my mom to the couch for the last 40 years of her life, getting viruses, and showing memes with this fuck-ass audio. Quickly becoming one of the biggest platforms of all time. $2 billion in revenue by 2010, a movie depicting Mark as a backstabber that stole his friend's idea that he interestingly attempted to stop from being made. 1 billion users by 2012, purchasing Instagram that same year for $1 billion because antisocial disorder wasn't enough. Let's make everyone's life revolve around chasing validation as well.
Look guys, I'm in Cancun. Look.
As by 2015, Mark Zuckerberg would become one of the richest and most powerful people on the planet, a net worth of roughly $40 billion and ownership of the 4 most used communication apps in the world, giving him control over influence and public perception like no other, which would be exploited in
Don't forget
2018
Threads.
in what's now known as the Cambridge Analytica scandal, which would be the start of the downfall of Facebook's reputation. Honestly, it wasn't even that great in the first place. Revealing to the public that the website had been used to build a database of roughly 90 million users, which would then be sold to help elect President Trump in the 2016 election, and interference.
Wow, Facebook overthrowing aiding a tyrannical dictatorship? Nah. Totally not plausible. Except for the times he did. But totally not plausible. and no, yeah, Trump wasn't the only one. Trust me.
Which would land Zuck in the booster seat at Capitol Hill. Aw, look at how small he is.
Could it be me? I am an inch taller.
With stocks dropping roughly 18% over
Well,
the
now.
course of 10 days due to the scandal, and Zuck personally losing over $9 billion in net worth in a hearing that at the end of the day wouldn't result in much, although the multiple continuous controversies afterwards would result in much. As just as the Cambridge Analytica scandal was wrapping up, Facebook would find themselves embroiled in a second controversy just 8 months later in December 2018, as it would be revealed that despite
The ride
being sued in
never
2011
ends.
due to invading people's privacy with a clause that Facebook must ask for consent before gathering people's data, Facebook had been continuing to gather people's data anyways for nearly a decade, giving roughly 150 different companies access to people's private messages, contact lists, and posts, which would then be sold to be used by advertisers, a break in the 2011 clause that would result in a fine of $5 billion. Facebook earns that much back in 1 month and likely proceeded to continue to sell our data after that fine was paid off for multiple years. That is until they no longer physically could, and not because the government didn't allow it, because we saw how they enforced that clause, but because the hardware Facebook ran on physically did not allow it. iPhone, and the one good thing that Apple has done since the iPhone. As despite
Yeah, I know. It's a hilarious thing that actually wound up aiding privacy. Emphasis on the one thing. Privacy's still pretty iffy on the phone, on mobile devices. Combating greed with the greed of others. Quite the paradox.
being one of the most powerful, influential, and widely used companies in the world, to the point where they were put on trial for being a fucking monopoly that same year, Facebook was forcibly at the behest of the terms and conditions that their apps ran on Apple and Android. And while this wasn't much of an issue for 15 years, aside from Zuck's complaints about Apple taking 30% of profit because it's less money for him, all that would change in April 2021
Nice use
with
of the world's
iOS
smallest violin.
14.5, as Apple would release a simple feature, a pop-up that when launching an app would ask you if you would like like this app to track your data? With 9 out of 10 people clicking no, because that question is the equivalent of a judge asking,
Would you like this man to peek through your window?
and just like that, Facebook lost $10 million and will continue to do so. And
Good
5
question.
months after that, also would lose what was left of their already horrendous reputation, as internal documents would be leaked in September that would eventually be known as the Facebook files, which revealed that the company knew the entire time just how harmful their platform was to society, the human psyche, knew how bad Instagram was to things like body image issues, had direct research proving this to them, and didn't care, continuing to run their algorithm in the way that amplified these.
I mean, we kind of had suspicions already. Let's be real here. The confirmation was just, good to have.
Issues because it resulted in more hashtag cash, because fuck those kids, Zuck needs another hashtag yacht, and back to Congress we go, but this time through Zoom, where his waist was left just out of frame. And how did he respond to Facebook's brand image essentially being solidified as a data stealing, depression generating social media? How did he respond to their decade-long business model of fuck your privacy being largely destroyed? Well, with a bottle of Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce on the shelf behind him, he responded by saying that they're no longer known as Facebook, they will from now on be known as Meta. Interesting time.
It is time for us to adopt a new company brand.
Also moving away from the
Fuck yeah, we're still calling it
depression-generating
Facebook.
social media industry into virtual reality with its own marketplace and privacy conditions that they had complete control over. Doubly interesting.
Privacy and safety.
Giving them the ability to control their own revenue split after being fucked over by Apple's 30% take for over a decade, and showing how gracious of a businessman Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook are by making Meta VR's marketplace split a much fairer 47.5 to 52% split.
And because I'm such a good Samaritan, I'll allow you to earn 2.5% more than we do. What? 2.5%? I made it. All you're doing is selling it. Exactly. You made it. That's why you're earning 2.5% more than we do. Enjoy that. You earned it.
As nearly a decade prior, all the way back in January 2014, Zuck would visit the headquarters of Oculus, the early pioneers of virtual reality, and be given a demo that he would seemingly fall in love with. How do I know? Because he bought the fucking company for double what he paid for Instagram. Seeing VR as not only the future of gaming, but humanity as a whole, not realizing that 3/4 of humanity feel like fucking vomiting after 5 minutes of use. Tasking Oculus and legendary developer behind the original Doom and Quake,
Yeah,
John Carmack,
it's like if this dude never heard of the frickin' Virtual Boy or something.
Do whatever the fuck they want, continuing to experiment, integrate, and improve on the headsets until 2021, where he felt the future was now because his other business ventures were imploded, and announced that Facebook would be pivoting not just into VR, but into the next step of human evolution. First there was art, then there was text, then there was photo, video, internet, now the metaverse. Virtual reality where you're not just looking at the experience on the screen, you are in it. No mouse, no keyboard, no controls at all, but gestures, because that worked amazingly for the Kinect, voice commands, because that's never been done before, or simply thinking what you want will allow you to click and control the experience, your house and room, transforming around you like Tony Stark with a mix of real and a hologramic decoration. A beautiful view outside your window, changing your appearance at the swipe of your hand with the choice of long sleeve Steve Jobs, short sleeve Steve Jobs, a skeleton, astronaut, and long sleeve Steve Jobs. Seamlessly being able to join and travel with your friends to any world you so desire, not just in VR, but in real life. Being able to visit and attend concerts across the world as a Force Ghost, because
sounds wonderful, except it doesn't really.
To pay a ticket or be physically there, despite it being just as great of an experience as if you were actually there, playing chess with the Force Ghost fake person on a fake board with fake pieces that this real person could somehow interact with, table tennis with an avatar spectator and two real people who are watching this girl standing across nothing, holding nothing, and swinging at nothing, because nobody in this trailer is wearing a fucking headset, which is the only fucking way that any of this would be possible. Every fucker here would have to be wearing a big bulky headset. This man here would have to be wearing a big bulky Quest headset to be able to see and move these pieces. This girl would have to bring a tripod to place beside her for her friend to be able to visually see from this vantage point, as well as her own fucking headset so that she'd be able to see her Force Ghost. Otherwise, how is any of this even possible? It's not! Zuckerberg literally says himself.
And while this may sound like science fiction, we're starting to see a lot of these technologies coming together. in the next 5 or 10 years. So even though it's still a long way off.
So why are you just wasting our time? You're just predicting, riffing, hey, at some point this will all be possible. Anyone could fucking do that. I could fucking do that. Hey, at some point in the future, we're gonna have technology that's more advanced than it is now. I guarantee you, technology 5 years from now is gonna be better than it is today. At some point, we're gonna have a new iPhone. At some point, AI is gonna replace our jobs. Subscribe and invest in my stock because I told you that all this tech will exist at some point. All these fancy trailers showing off all this fancy tech to build up the singular only thing that was actually ready. Horizon. No, not that. Horizon World, which would be used as the first step dash to this guaranteed future as Zuck foresees it. This will be mainstream. Zuckerberg says in 5 to 10 years, even though it's been 5 years since his presentation and none of this is still possible. Maybe in the upcoming 5. Allowing users to build their own worlds, make their own connections, form their own communities, much like people did with websites and forums in the early internet, until it became the behemoth that it is today. And Horizon World would be the first dash to that ensured future.
Wild fireworks. What? Let me firework this. Look. Am I fireworking right now?
Yeah. You're zucking so hard.
What a ridiculous. Oh yeah.
This is the future.
The future would end up being VR chat with no fucking legs.
All those fancy words presenting all that fake advanced tech, burning $10 billion at launch to release decade-old VR chat.
The fuck were they
Roblox
spending that
minigame
shit
worlds
on?
And the occasional event like the live concerts that Fortnite had been doing for over a year at that point with this production quality. Meanwhile, Horizon World.
How much money do you think they spend for this man to sit in a dark-ass room and start singing?
This looks like a point of view shot of the Me channel from the Wii, except the Mii's actually had legs. And with this announcement in October 2021, the metaverse would blow up in popularity, just not this one, every other one. As despite announcing it like he created the fucking thing, even though multiple other games have been using that formula for a decade and didn't bother to call themselves a metaverse because they're not an ego-jerking snob like Zuck, the metaverse as a concept had existed since 1992 and was coined by author Neil Stephenson in a book called Snow Crash, which is a dystopian book about an America so corrupted by corporations and greed that people escape into a virtual world using goggles and headphones. Things are going so swimmingly that that concept is now being unironically pitched as a real thing. As far back as 2003, I was doomed from the fucking start with the release of Second Life, which was actually directly inspired by Snow Crash, peaking 3 years later in 2006 and 7 with 1 million active users and was essentially, well, a second life because we only have so much limited time on this planet. Why not half our time here by living another life in a virtual world with communities of people building cities and worlds to spend time and hang out with one another in, and virtual currency to buy clothes to show yourself off to them, as well as virtual real estate for your character to live in, so that you can finally experience the dream of paying taxes instead of rent, because none of us will experience that in our fuck ass life. But at the very least, they're actually affordable here, I guess. That is at least until the mid 2010, where it would no longer be affordable to own a home in the real or virtual world. As around that time, 4 other metaverses would begin to rise. Roblox, which had been out for years at that point and was technically a metaverse despite not officially calling itself one, with virtual worlds and hubs to hang out in, as well as accessories that you could buy using Robux like skins and clothes to show off. Followed by The Sandbox in 2012, which initially released as just a 2D mobile game. Fortnite, which wouldn't really become a metaverse until the addition of creative mode in 2018, followed by concerts later that year, and similarly to Roblox, not calling itself but still technically being a metaverse with hubs to hang out and chill with your friends in, being able to show yourself off using V-Bucks and buying things like skins, pets, shoes, socks, backpacks, pickaxes, boxers, cars, guns, sunglasses, Aura rings, jukeboxes, snapback caps, Supreme hoodies, watches, spray paints, a double-decker couch, Legos to play on your double-decker couch, and Decentraland, which would begin development 3 years prior in 2015 in a quote Stone Age state where players could claim squares on a 2D map before entering its Bronze Age in 2016, being updated to first person and allowing players to build some bullshit on their specific parcel of land. Here I am on Minecraft, where I can build some bullshit on my 9.2 quintillion parcels of land. And finally entering its final age, the Iron Age in 2017.
My god, it took us millions of years to go from the Stone to Iron Age. Decentraland did it in only 3. Who knows where they'll be in a decade?
They'll have less than 40 players, allowing players to begin purchasing parcels of land in this new Iron Age using something called mana, which was not your usual in-game currency like the previously discussed Robux and V-Bucks because it didn't have the word bucks in it, as well as the fact that it was a real cryptocurrency on the real blockchain with an initial coin offering.
Oh, that's a
taking
bad
place
sign.
in August 2017. And what that is, because I didn't know either, is essentially just a new cryptocurrency attempting to get itself off the ground using funding from the community, usually with Ethereum. So crypto bros trading their Ethereum in for whatever the new currency is, in this case mana, with the hopes that that cryptocurrency would boom in the future, allowing them to sell the cheap tokens that they got early for profit. And boom, this token would, as in about 35 seconds, Decentraland's mana token would raise $24 million. One of the most successful ICOs of all time for fake land that you could buy in a game that looks like this.
There we go. You've got the Star Wars ship. You've got some fidget spinners. You've got a frog and also Vitalik's head right there. And some other stuff all around.
But they'd buy it anyway.
Feels bad, man.
Thousands of dollars on parcels of land in different areas throughout the city, like this British bloke spending $900 on his parcel of land that he wouldn't sell till it was worth because it was close to his friends so that he could go virtually see them and have a virtual cup of tea. Don't get too immersed now. Don't forget to hydrate your physical self as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure why I'm so dehydrated, Doc. I drink water all the time. It's like nothing helps.
With the top selling, most expensive parcels of land naturally being within the city streets, just like in real life, these have to be illegal living conditions for this price. Always booming with virtual activity, the most virtual opportunity for your virtual future to take care of your virtual family and have the shortest commutes to your virtual job to pay off your virtual debt. So of course, a parcel of land here would naturally run you $180,000 for virtual land that's worthless because it's virtual lines of code that can be infinitely duplicated, which cannot be done with real life land because we only have so much space for each person on this spinning rock, so that scarcity is what makes it cost a lot. And likely seeing this explosion in investment and profit for Decentraland, a company by the name of Animoca would seemingly hatch an idea, buying 2012's 2D mobile game The Sandbox for nearly $5 million, 1 year after the Decentraland and mana investments began in 2018, and turning it into a blockchain metaverse of their own with pre-sales for plots of land beginning a year later in December 2019 and ending in July of 2020, resulting in over 20,000 parcels of land being sold for about $30 to $80 in Ethereum each until it was time for the Sandbox's initial coin offering for what they called the Sand Token, where they would not gain $24 million in the time that it took for you to watch the ad before this video that you didn't skip. You didn't skip that ad, right? But would instead generate $3 million, which is still solid, and trade at under a cent per share, with Roblox likely sensing the rising trend, filing itself as a metaverse game in November of that year, and Decentraland officially launching around that same time. Honestly, I don't know if this is much better. It just looks like adult Roblox, except for the small fact that Roblox is actually adult fun now, because how is this Roblox? With Fortnite solidifying its metaverse ties with its first uber successful virtual
probably
concerts around
don't
that time,
use
as well as trailer
adult
premieres,
fun
full-on
in
movies,
the
and
same
even
sentence as
emo
Roblox.
rallies that people took very seriously, so much so that they had to disable the emote wheel, because
For little children,
Ah, yeah, that cringe.
one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream.
who thought that was a good idea? With all
It actually got worse during that event. If I recall correctly, people kept spamming the crack the whip emote that Fortnite couldn't disable due to a contract from DC. Yeah, quite the shit show it was.
this activity from all these different games seemingly grabbing the attention of our old friend Mark Zuckerberg. Did you forget about him? He sure didn't. He has access to all your information. Seeing that not only was there a market for virtual hubs and concerts, but even a market for virtual home ownership and flexing over your virtual friends, antisocial Zuck, who's likely only ever had virtual friends, would come up with a brilliant idea, diverting thousands of Facebook's top engineer to a new branch of the company who would focus exclusively on the metaverse, Reality Labs, in February 2020, which would be the perfect time, as if you look at the date,
God, I fucking hate school.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to class.
COVID-19, and from out of nowhere, the entire planet was now locked within their walls. A terrible time for some, great time for others, and even better time for gaming companies whose player numbers would go boom as from out of nowhere, the idea of a virtual world, hanging out with your friends in a virtual space, and how to some even living in a virtual space would become more viable than ever. With everything that was once done away from home, now being done virtually from home. Life in prison verdict? From home. Fast food restaurants like Mr. Salmonella Burgers? From home. Failing your classes, tests, and assignments? From home.
Gang, attendance.
As the desire for escapism and connection to the outside world would increase more and more as the lockdown would go on, from a month to the summer to winter to over a year indoors, until some could no longer take any more of the isolation, needing an escape, needing connection, and most importantly, needing attention and validation that they'd always get by showing off their vacation that they can no longer go to, or their clothes, or their cars, or their cocks, or whatever the fuck. Attention that would desperately need a virtual form of validation. NFT, a non-fungible token, which is essentially just a receipt confirming that you own something. You see this dollar bill? This dollar bill, alongside the cocaine embedded within it, is fungible. I can interchange it with another dollar bill, but this MS Paint page, it is my MS Paint page. You may look at it, you may screenshot it, you may remake the exact same thing, but this specific MS Paint page, it is my MS Paint page. NFTs behaved in the same way. A certificate saying that you own a one-of-a-kind digital asset, even though I could do this, and I now own your two-of-a-kind digital asset just as much as you do.
Delete that screen.
Starting off with something called CryptoPunks in 2017 that would be given out to owners
Yeah, I'm gonna miss the right-click memes.
of Ethereum for free because it is a fucking JPEG. That would eventually become worth literal millions of dollars just 4 years later, after everyone sniffed their own farts indoors for a year too long. Exploding in popularity at the start of 2021 as NFT trading volume would spike by 400% within a month, with the start of it all being a picture of LeBron dunking selling for $200,000. Meanwhile, this trading card that's in perfect condition, but I guess you don't have to worry about condition when it comes to JPEG, and cannot be easily recreated unlike this digital asset because it's a physical fucking card that's been literally touched and signed by LeBron himself, is running for nearly the same price, although that dunk was something special. With that purchase seemingly emboldening auction company Christie's, which usually sells things like physical Picassos, but can't do that when everyone's inside, I guess, to attempt to take advantage of the situation by putting up a piece called The First 5,000 Days, which looks like this, up for auction. I'm kind of overwhelmed, but if you're gonna spend big on art, might as well get the most bang for your buck. And Vignesh Sundar
Metakoven, he's known as Metakoven,
would surely spend big, buying the digital piece for $69 million.
You know, that right there should have been a sign from God at how stupid this whole concept was.
A purchase that would seemingly justify the idea of paying millions for a digital asset to show off how rich you are in many people's psyches, and all it would take to solidify that belief was a couple of monkeys. 10,000 to be exact. Images of monkeys that today would be accused of being AI generated, costing people upward of $3.4 million that they would then turn into their profile pictures to flex how rich they are. They most importantly needed attention and validation. As in April 2021, Bored Ape Yacht Club would launch with 10,000 images of cartoon monkeys wearing a randomized assortment of bullshit and colors, selling out in the amount of time that it takes for the sun to sell out, with the purchase of an ape getting you an exclusive invite to the Bored Ape Yacht Club Discord. That right there, that was what was worth $3.4 million. Not the digital monkey pic, but the invite to this
I don't think that
private,
thing's still up.
high-class, ever-elusive Discord server with a variety of different celebrities who were invited. That does not mean that they were in it. That just means that they were invited because they likely only bought these pics to flex and have never heard of an application known as the Discord. With the first of these celebrities being none other than another NBA star, because for some reason the rise of NFTs was incredibly interlinked with the NBA. Maybe because they both start with N and have a 3-letter acronym. Steph Curry being one of the first high-profile figures to buy a Bored Ape Yacht NFT, who I've always liked because I thought he was booster seat short like Zuck. spending $180,000 on his NFT and making his profile picture, which was broke shit and would immediately be showed up by every other celebrity hopping on board, pun very much intended. Post Malone, Shaquille O, I don't think he needs a booster seat knee, world famous rich person Mark Cuban, professional flopper Neymar, DJ. Shut the fuck up and let me listen to the song. Shut the fuck. A milli sent by Bieber, now 69,000. I swear this was aside from God Eminem because it fucking looked like him. This CryptoPunk kind of looks like me too. Should I buy it? I will not. And Jimmy Fallon alongside Paris Hilton showing off physical printouts of their digital monkeys, which is about as ironic as they fucking get. Thousands and thousands and millions and thousands again on proof of ownership certificates for a fucking digital baboon that I own.
Delete that screen.
And with the idea of owning digital art and using it to flex on your virtual friend becoming more and more mainstream, the metaverse and the idea of virtual living, virtual accessories, and virtual home ownership would slowly begin to rise. Fortnite collabing with everyone under the fucking sun to the point where I now ask who is not in Fortnite instead of who is in it.
Me, I'm not in Fortnite. I would like to be added.
Accessories on Roblox skyrocketing in price to the point
Start
where
flossing,
a virtual
bitch.
Gucci bag in Roblox was more expensive than the real physical thing. And Decentraland and the Sandbox's tokens rising from a couple of cents per share to $1, $1.50, $3, and all it would take to make the virtual home market explode like the real home market was one rich and famous antisocial billionaire burning his company's reputation to the ground and needing an out. As with Zuck's announcement of the metaverse in late 2021 and Facebook's suspiciously well-timed rebrand to Meta, suddenly search volume for the term metaverse would spike by 10, and what users would discover when searching for that term was already existing metaverses slowly on the rise. Everyone already knew Roblox and Fortnite, but the lesser-known Decentraland and Sandbox would explode in popularity alongside their token with Zuck's announcement spiking by about 300%, Mana hitting nearly $6 per share and Sand tokens nearly $8 as player counts and most importantly virtual land would skyrocket in value. Sell, brother, sell. Fuck your virtual friends. Fuck your tea. Sell. $650 on a yacht NFT with 2 landing pads for your buddies to land their NFT helicopters on, which is 6 times the price of a real thing. JP Morgan with their own virtual bank, which Snoop Dogg would take a loan on to buy his own $4 million virtual house on the Sandbox, in which neighboring homes would collectively spend $1.23 million just to be close to him. I hope to God for your sake he logged in at least once or twice to make that purchase even slightly worth it.
Knowing Gibby was probably logged in 24/7 forgetting to turn his computer off just like his stream.
Am I still streaming?
Look at this shit. Fuck this shit. Came in this fucking room and everything went fucking bad. Fuck this shit.
2.4 million for 116 parcels of land in Decentraland's fashion district, Barbados. Signing a deal to have their own country embassy within Decentraland to hand out NFT visas and allow Decentraland's virtual players to immigrate into their virtual parcel of land, as Roblox would add a virtual Walmart, which is presumably where this guy goes to buy his virtual tea, Vans, and a competing Nike store for shoes. Wendy's, so that you could destroy your virtual health by eating virtual Baconators, and a Chipotle when you need to go on your virtual diet. Private yachts, turning into homes, turning into banks, turning into restaurants, turning into supermarkets, turning into cities, turning into countries, turning into an entire planet. The future of humanity wasn't on Mars, it was here. We've destroyed her for long enough with our activity, with our construction, with our pollution, with our gases. Now it was time for a fresh start with the long-awaited 4.5 billion years in the making sequel to Earth 2, a perfect one-to-one replica of the beautiful planet we call home that's also overrun by pollution, construction, and human activity. We've metaversed so fucking hard across fictional digital realms that we've come full circle back to Earth. This bubble has to pop soon, but the peak is always highest before the crash, as the main event of the metaverse, the one that started this entire boom, would finally arrive. Horizon World launching on December 9, 2021 at the literal perfect moment. The world still indoors at the most accepting they would ever be at the idea of existing in a virtual world. Fortnite and Roblox player accounts at all-time growth, and NFTs hitting their highest of highs just a month later. Horizon World would be riding the absolute peak of the metaverse hype train, or at least hovering above it. If there was any metaverse project that had every reason to succeed, it was this one, and it would, peaking at 300,000 active users just 2 months after launch, with analysts projecting that the metaverse concept as a whole would become an $8 to $13 trillion market with 5 billion users by 2030. That is the same amount of people that own phone. But the peak is always highest before the crash, as this prediction would not even make it a year, as almost exactly 1 year since the craze began, the exact people who started the trend, the Bored Ape Yacht Club, would be responsible for the start of its crash with the announcement of Otherside in March 2022. Now, not only do you get a picture, not only do you get into an exclusive server, but you'll get to use your own virtual color priming on their brand new metaverse blockchain game that will begin its land pre-sale event, much like the Sandbox, on April 30th, 2022, with so many flocking to this event, thinking they're hitting it big, thinking it's the future, thinking they're gonna be rich, only to end up broke in the process, as so many people would have that same idea that they crashed the entire Ethereum market for hours due to the amount of transactions attempting to go through, gas fees, which is essentially just shipping but for crypto, spiking to thousands of dollars per transaction, not even counting the price of the virtual land itself, with many people losing thousands paying that fee just for the order to not go through itself and get nothing in the end. If I sat through the hell that was pre-ordering the PS5 and Series X at launch,
Death by loading queue.
and get no fucking
Those
console in the
motherfuckers
end,
got
I would
2B2T'd.
burn Microsoft and Sony to the ground, just like the $180 million in Ethereum that were also burned to the ground from this event in just a few hours. A disaster that would cause thousands of people to lose confidence in the concept of NFTs in the metaverse, and just a few months later, crypto as a whole, as throughout summer 2022, the entire crypto market would crash due to something rising interest rates causing people to panic sell. And
I know my limits and I'm pushing it with this crypto shit. I am not explaining all this. Go ask an economist.
a crypto crash, which was very detrimental to NFTs and metaverses, because
It's just basic tulip craze shit.
Said crypto, which would spark a slow but
Don't really need to understand more than that.
Summer of that year, which will reach its absolute depths on August 16th of that year, where one image, one selfie, would act as the red pill thousands needed to snap them out of the blue-pilled metaverse spell that they were in. An image that would become the perfect visual shorthand to prove just how stupid this concept was and convince anyone who was still coping otherwise. This one, Zuckerberg's low-poly Horizon World's avatar that would look right at home in front of this background or this background, staring off into the distance with his beady dead eyes that somehow look more human than his real ones, on green, cushiony-looking Kirby 64 rolling hills in front of a horribly modeled Eiffel Tower and Sagrada Familia to celebrate the release of Horizon Worlds in France and Spain, and I don't think anybody was celebrating with him, as this post would have
Yeah, that shit looks worse than freaking amateur hour pseudo PS1 indie games. I don't know how that was even possible. I could probably model up something better than that. And I don't know shit about freaking modeling.
immediately be ridiculed and mocked so badly that Zuck would post an updated model of his avatar days later that definitely looked better, but also wasn't real because it wasn't out yet. Maybe in 5 to 10 years, like everything else. Damage control, that was too little too late, as at this point, the other side event, crypto crash, meta, and NFT decline, and this image alone destroyed the idea and the reputation behind metaverses to the point where just 2 months later, on October 2022, it was being reported that the Sandbox, the game that once had so many players that their servers crashed trying to handle them, now just a year later had roughly 522 daily active users, with Decentraland being in an even worse state at 38 active users. They would dispute these claims, saying that their number was actually a higher 8,000 players, which is still bad, with Roblox removing all mentions of the term from its branding shortly after, and celebrities that were once fully on board with the concept, pun still very much intended, like world famous rich person Mark Cuban, were now off the sinking ship, seeing the writing on the wall.
And the worst part is people are fucking buying real estate in these places. I mean, that's just the dumbest shit ever. The dumbest. Did I say it was dumb?
The crypto market would rise again over time, but NFTs and the metaverse concept would never recover from this point on, not just to the public, but within Zuckerberg's own company. 1 month later, internal memos from Facebook, now Meta, would be leaked from their company's own VP Vishal Shah, pleading with employees to fall in love with their own product, Horizon Worlds. Quote, for many of us, we don't spend much time
That
on
is
Horizon,
such a
and our
good sign.
dashboard show that pretty clearly.
Totally
Why is that? Why don't we
stable.
love the product we built so much that we use all the time? I don't know, Vishal. Why don't you try using it and let us know how it goes? As when employees did attempt to use Horizon World in the way that Zuck had envisioned it, meetings having everyone from all different parts of the world all working in one virtual space. When employees attempted this, like Vishal begged, it would take 20-30 minutes to get everything set up and for everyone to join, audio breaking mid-meeting and character models freezing, vanishing mid-sentence, or floating at least more than they already do. As meetings within the metaverse were so unstable that employees would simply give up and hop on a Zoom call because you want to know what's more convenient than strapping in a big, bulky, uncomfortable headset, navigating through all of Meta's bullshit and menus to get onto the game, finding the correct meeting and world, loading into it, and listening to your boss's hideous avatar talking about how we spent a split second longer looking at an ad for a vacuum cleaner, so let's push more ads for vacuum cleaners. What's more convenient is moving your hand in an upward motion to raise your laptop screen or phone and having that exact same meeting on Zoom. As the entire concept was so tedious for a result that was borderline unusable that Zuckerberg's own people.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. Convenience will trump gimmicks literally any day. It is quite literally the pillar of inventions to begin with. Necessity. And there is no necessity much more. There's nothing any more necessary than a more convenient way to do something. It's almost as if none of these people actually understand that basic rule of inventing shit.
People paid to be there and use the fucking thing didn't want to do it until they were forced to due to a weekly fucking checkbox being implemented by management. There was no bigger sign of a product failure than it turning into a literal fucking chore for its own creators, because you said it yourself at the end of the quote, if we don't love it, how can we expect our users to love it? They didn't. As player counts would continue to bleed for an entire year after its February 2022 peak, there will still be over 20,000 creators making worlds for the game, only 9% of which would ever be visited by over 50 players, meaning the remaining 91% of levels in Horizon Worlds look like this. Because of the 20,000 creators making worlds for the game, there were less than 5% actually playing in them. As just over a year after launch, YouTuber Jarvis Johnson calculated by combining player counts in the top 20 feature worlds in the game that there were roughly only 900 players remaining in Horizon Worlds, meaning in total, just over a year after the 300k peak, Horizon Worlds had roughly 21,000 users remaining, majority of which were seemingly kids, which had overrun the platform to the point where 18-plus-year-old adult-only worlds like virtual fucking bars
We're getting fucking lit up tonight.
were confirming people's ages by forcing them to grab onto a virtual measuring stick and stretch out their wingspan to confirm their adult, since adults have longer wingspans than kids. Fuck short people, I guess.
I swear I'm 22. I swear I'm 20.
Plummeting player counts and a lack of return on investment that would show within the company's stocks, which over the next year would fall nearly 70%, with the division behind Horizon Worlds, Reality Labs, having burned $13.7 billion on operating losses that year alone. A loss which would not be recouped by Zuckerberg's wallet, it'd be recouped by those under him. As for the first time in company history, Face Meta would begin a wave of mass layoffs against its employees, firing 11,000 workers in November, with one member of the workforce who wasn't laid off, but
the
instead resigned a
classic
month later,
sign of
legendary
company
game
stability.
developer John Carmack, who days later would not mince words and give us some insight into the development of the game as a whole, stating that we have a ridiculous amount of people and resources but constantly self-sabotage and squander efforts, and quote, there's no way to sugarcoat this. I think our organization is operating at half the effectiveness that would make me happy, a statement which would seemingly be backed by employees working on the game themselves, as when asked through surveys exactly what the metaverse and Horizon Worlds was, half of them seemed to not know what the fuck they were even working on. Mr. Zuck, care to clarify with your clearly confused employees on what the fuck they're doing so they can properly make it and not lose their job?
Too fast. build awesome things, and live in the future. Thank you, Zuck. I for some reason now lost my job because I didn't know to decipher how live in the future translates to a game which came out 8 years in the past.
With Zuckerberg responding to the failings of Horizon Worlds, their late 2022 mass layoffs, and potentially worst year in company history by sending an email labeling 2023 the year of efficiency, committing to cost cutting. And if we decipher cost cutting from reptilian to English, it means 10,000 less mouths to feed, letting go of another 10,000 employees, 21,000 between November 2022 and March 2023, which was a quarter of their workforce, and harvesting those 21,000 players transferred to the remaining 21,000 legless players. Has anyone heard from these let go employees, and do they still have their lower half? As on October 2022, a month before the mass layoffs, during MetaConnect's 2022 press conference, an avatar of Zuck would walk out on stage not as a torso, but as a fully modeled appendage, stepping on stage, or any flooring in that case, for the first time in Horizon Worlds history, and showing off the full leg tracking capabilities of Meta's headsets. He would stretch, kick. Oh my god, get this man in the NBA, that's $300,000 right there. With the crowd of still half human beings hovering over their chairs, throwing confetti in the air to celebrate this accomplishment, hoping it'd be enough to appease Mr. Zuck to attach their lower halves, but he wouldn't because it wasn't real. This entire presentation was faked and motion captured in advance, as the legs and update wouldn't be ready until nearly a year later, after 21,000 legs would become available to attach to each and every single one of the remaining players, releasing the update on September 2023 in beta. A beta for legs. VR chat released this many years ago, by the way. What a waste of 21,000 innocent souls. With Meta around that same time on September 2023 putting the first nail in the coffin on Horizon Worlds by releasing the game for the first time ever on a non-VR platform. PC and mobile playing in a similar way, but with touch and mouse controls instead of VR, also known as Roblox. To capitalize on the child audience they had garnered, how will that bar ever recover from this? With the final nail in the coffin going in not a year, not 6 months later, but by the end of that month, as Face Meta would officially pivot to a new trend.
Introducing Meta's AIs.
November 30th, 2022, 10 months before the pivot is official, ChatGPT launches, gaining 1 million
And I wonder
users in
how
just 5 days,
that
becoming the
worked out
fastest
for
growing
them.
app in history. And over the next year, the entire world would start to be consumed by AI, and honestly still is to this day, but in a much less fun, existentially threatening way. I would like AI to return to melting Will Smith eating noodles and Steve Harvey taking shots and running from monsters, not this. Stop this right now.
Artificial intelligence experts are sounding the alarm after AI giant Anthropic revealed a new model called Mythos that it says is too powerful to release to the public. And in something out of a sci-fi movie, Mythos was placed in a secure environment with no internet access and managed to break out.
With Mark Zuckerberg saying less than a year
Well, that's
after GPT's
ominous.
launch, as Horizon Worlds legs were still just a promise that was being actively harvested, that AI is now Meta's single largest investment.
Then what are you gaining from this?
Calling it the future after spending the last 3 years calling the metaverse the future. This will be mainstream. Remember that? How's that name change going? Making the pivot official on September 27, 2023, just weeks after the legs finally launched in Horizon World with the release of Face Meta's first AI product, AI chatbots with celebrity personas, paying millions for celebrities' likeness and voices to act as AI chatbots, with some jumping from one craze to another like an attention-seeking kangaroo. Paris Hilton, Snoop Dogg recording his lines from his metaverse home, Tom Brady telling you about sports because he was a QB, Charlie D'Amelio telling you about dancing because she danced, Mr. Beast, who's funny.
This dude's funny. Like, funny.
They were grasping at straws.
With all this taking place at the exact same time as the SAG-AFTRA strikes, which was literally fighting against AI replacing human likeness. You will always be against our species, won't use up.
A lot of the code in our apps and including the AI that we generate is actually going to be built by AI engineers instead of people engineers.
Spending big to make this dream future reality because he's secretly a reptile that wants to destroy humanity, with $40 billion invested into AI in 2024, followed by $60 billion a year later, to assemble a super team of AI developers in a bidding war rivaling the NFL draft, but with nerds instead of athletes, paying hundreds of millions to upwards of $1 billion sign-on bonuses to AI researchers just to come over to Meta instead of the competition, only to somehow still end up dead last in the AI race. I'm seriously starting to think this motherfucker just got lucky as shit with Facebook. And while all this was going on, Reality Labs and the metaverse was still burning billions
But
of
what do you
dollars
expect for a guy who
year-over-year.
just steals
16.1
people's
in
information?
17.7 in 2024, 19.2 in 2025, with a lifetime total loss over the course of less than 5 years of $80 billion on the metaverse alone, never making a profit, not one fucking time. And something would have to give, and it would on January 2026 to everyone except for Zuck's baby boy, lashing out on every other VR game and studio except for the one that was at fucking fault. Sanzaru Games, makers of Asgard's Wrath 2, which is one of the most popular VR RPGs, was shut down. Twisted Pixel, who just released that Deadpool VR game,
Yeah, we're not getting Sly 5 anytime soon.
behind the amazing Resident Evil 4 VR was once again shut down. Camouflage, behind the shockingly incredible Batman Arkham Shadow that genuinely has no right to be as good as it is, was gutted. You fucking snake, how dare you gut the one good piece of Arkham content we've gotten in the past decade? Go away, you do not count. With the direct cause of all this financial loss, Horizon Worlds escaping these mass shutdowns scot-free, although their makers, or I mean, Mark Zuckerberg, the genius Reptinius, was the maker, but the people who failed to transfer his cryptic genius into game wouldn't. As Reality Labs, the studio behind Horizon Worlds, would experience a mass layoff of over 1,000 employees around the same time as the rest of the studio shutdowns, until there was nothing left. Nothing left to close, nothing left to gut, nothing left to blame, except for Zuck's baby boy, Horizon Worlds itself. As on March 18, 2026, with tears in his eyes, Mark Zuckerberg, through Meta, would announce that he would be pulling the plug of his favorite child on June 15th, taking Horizon Worlds off the MetaQuest store, but keeping the mobile version up to continue reigning in that Roblox income. But the original VR vision that everyone would be in was dead. That is until one person on Instagram was sad, which was enough to validate Zuck's unconditional love for the game and keep it intact.
I have a little bit of good news here for you then. We have decided, just today in fact, that we will keep Horizon Worlds working in VR.
Why?
To support the fans who've reached out, like yourself, who really care about that.
Despite the billions lost every single quarter, leaving the game up past June 15th and for the foreseeable future, but only on maintenance mode, with all future updates going exclusively to the mobile version, meaning that it's essentially still fucking dead. But let Zuck grieve. Let him keep his last vestiges of hope that his comatose product will somehow come back to life, no matter how many billions the hospital bills cost. Let him grieve with his predicted and prophesized metaverse future that everyone would be using in the next 5 to 10 years, at the end of the day, not even making it to the minimal number.
All the starter type Pokemon was your least favorite. Good question. Let me check the list of starters. I'll let you know in a second. Alright, let's see. I'm gonna have to say Piplup. I mean, I know people have fondness for Piplup, but it's somehow the Pokemon I just think about the least. And that's probably the worst thing you could say about a starter Pokemon. I mean, it's not a terrible one, it's just there.
In the end, the Sandbox would lay off half of its staff. Decentraland would fall to less than 100 monthly active users, with the small community remaining being strong-armed by an oligarch hoarding all the wealth, land, and power left in the virtual world. Other Side would launch in 2025 in a glitchy state with a peak of 2,000 players and its NFT monkey investments now being seen as useless. Roblox would remove all mention of the metaverse from its marketing, while Fortnite would continue to do well with consistent live events. VR chat would continue to thrive with an active community. And Second Life, the one that started it all, would outlive them all, still going strong 2 decades later, while the metaverse to end all metaverses, Horizon Worlds, would result in nothing more than a peak of 300,000 players for about 2 months, repeated PR disasters and humiliations, all-time company-wide stock lows, tens of thousands of layoffs and sacrifices, half a dozen studio closures caught in the crossfire, and a company-wide loss of over $80 billion in what has to be one of the biggest tech and gaming busts of all time, a fate that was psychologically predicted 50 years prior.
I know you're
Moral of the story.
I'm having the time of my life. Fuck this world.
So yeah, moral of the story. Learn to frickin' read. But yeah, that was King Fasho's the predicted failure of the $80 billion metaverse. Yeah, this, like I said, I really like this dude's comedy. Alright, let's see. What is next on my playlist? Ooh. Right. Team Funkland made a video on covering American Idol a long time ago. I mean to react to that.
It's the early
Oh dang, 2 years already. Yeah. I really did have this on the back burner. Okay.
It's the early 2000s, and being famous sounds like a good idea. Fame and fortune are timeless objectives, but the pop stars of the late 90s and early aughts had reached unprecedented levels of notoriety and denim. Innovations in technology, such as portable devices, the internet, and denim, were making celebrities more accessible to their fans than ever, while at the same time, elevating their social status to a point that many contemporary commentators felt that the only apt comparison was idolatry. To many, these were gods, untouchable beings of talent and fame, but some believe that they had a chance at reaching this status themselves. They just needed to be discovered. Unfortunately, the only surefire way to become absurdly famous at the turn of the millennium was to have starred in the 1989 revival of the Mickey Mouse Club. If you weren't a Mouseketeer, you could try forming a boy band or a girl group and pray that you were the best, the most attractive, or ideally, both. Short of these strategies, the path
Or
to
be
stardom
exploited
was
by
clear, but that was about to change.
random adults
Throughout the 20th
and grow
century,
up
music
miserable.
competitions had often elevated hopeful nobodies to stardom. For instance, Frank Sinatra got his start on Major Beau's Amateur Hour, a radio talent competition. With the emergence of television, competitions such as Eurovision and Star Search would be popular among audiences and successful in finding stars. However, there were very few active singing competitions on the air by the late 90s, but a new wave was on its way. In 2000, ABC began airing a music reality competition named Making the Band.
Oh, hey, Frizalga.
Pop Stars would begin airing in the UK and the US in early 2001. Both of these shows sought to find new talent and form the next big music group. Both programs heavily integrated elements from the new reality television genre, and the winners of these programs would be immediately signed to the record label of the show's producers. In early 2001, the winners of Pop Stars UK formed the group Hearsay, which according to the Observer's relevancy test was a massive success, as they had attracted one stalker. And according to my relevancy test, all 5 members have Wikipedia pages, but only 3 have photos attached. B-. Pop Stars US formed Eden's Crush in early 2001.
A wonderful
with
litmus
career
test.
future Pussycat Dolls lead singer Nicole Scherzinger. but unfortunately, only 2 of its members have Wikipedia pages and only Nicole has a photo. F. Making the Band on ABC had formed O-Town. Of the 5 original members and 1 replacement, 2 Wikipedia pages, 1 photo. Also F. Wikipedia is not always correct when it comes to facts, but the Wikipedia Music Group Relevancy Test does not lie. In 2001...
Oh, thank you. I'm actually drawing my main Shoutar buck. I've been meaning to give him a design update, so may as well do it today. Probably won't finish him for a while, but go.
British music and television mogul Simon Fuller noticed the interest in these new programs. Fuller was best known as the manager of the Spice Girls, until he was fired by the group in 1997. Seeking other ventures, Fuller attempted to create a music competition and star-launching format of his own, which would be named Pop Idol. The show would begin airing in the UK on ITV in late 2001. Pop Idol combined multiple successful elements of other music competitions, with 3 key differences that set it apart. First, unlike Pop Stars and Making the Band, the goal of Pop Idol was to find a singular star, not form a group. Second, the show would have live episodes featuring the competitors performing. Third, and most importantly, Pop Idol would allow the audience to vote and decide its winner. Fuller hoped that the show's format would be popular enough to launch the career of the UK's next big recording star. But the show's popularity would receive a major boost from the harsh critiques of one of its judges, music executive Simon Cowell.
I believe you.
Mark yourself out of 10 on that one.
About 7 with a bit of a sore throat.
2.
Cowell became known for his honest and often cruel feedback to performers, and Pop Idol would make a celebrity out of Simon before the show's actual winner had been chosen. Pop Idol was an immediate...
But he was always the highlight of
by 10 million viewers a week.
The American
15%
counterpart.
of the country's population tuned into the competition. The 2 finalists instantly became charting musicians. The winner, Will Young, immediately broke the record for the fastest-selling single in British history, outperforming the Beatles in this category. The show's success in the UK led Fuller and Cowell to pitch a version to networks in the US, eventually convincing Fox to air a season of the competition. The show, renamed American Idol: The Search for a Superstar, began airing on June 11, 2002. American Idol would feature a panel of 3 judges. Simon Cowell would also serve on the American Idol panel, bringing the same surly energy that had made him famous on Pop Idol.
I can honestly say you are the worst singer in America.
Really? Cowell would be joined by Randy Jackson, a bass player and music producer, and Paula Abdul, a pop star who had found success in the late 80s and early 90s. 2 hosts, Ryan Seacrest and Brian Dunkelman, would guide contestants and audiences through the competition. The first step in finding the new American Idol was an elaborate open call audition held in multiple cities throughout the country. Thousands of prospective contestants were judged by casting directors, and a select few of these singers made it in front of the 3 celebrity judges and potentially onto national television. The contestants that made it to the filmed auditions were either good enough to move forward or bad enough to make compelling TV, with a handful of singers that were just okay to make the process feel realistic. Throughout these first 2 episodes, Cal showcased his signature snark, shocking the contestants and his fellow judges with how far he was willing to go to shut down the hopeful singers.
Well, Jennifer, here's a new word. That was extraordinary.
Thank you.
Extraordinarily bad. You taking singing lessons?
There was this lady up in Montana.
Do you have a lawyer?
No, I don't have a lawyer.
Get a lawyer and sue her.
I thought you were fantastic.
I didn't.
The harshness of these critiques was an immediate point of discussion around the country, as was the poor singing ability and lack of self-awareness of some of those auditioning. These humorous auditions were presented alongside contestants with true talent, many of which were immediately relatable to audiences, showcasing their singing abilities, confidence, and denim.
I like this. Is that a skirt?
The show had an obvious bias towards singers who matched the ridiculous beauty standards of the early 2000s, a bias that the program stated explicitly and justified as a necessary attribute for any potential idol.
The problem
Hey, it's honest.
is that you don't look like an American Idol.
And she just sang an Aretha Franklin song.
I do not believe that if Aretha Franklin entered this competition, she would win it. Now, I don't make the rules.
Evelyn McDonnell, writing for the Miami Herald, said,
I mean,
quote,
he's right.
American Idol takes our cultural obsession with celebrities, strips it bare, abuses and humiliates it, then redresses it in its own mode and sends it smiling back at us. This was written 2 weeks after the show premiered. Evelyn, pace yourself. This show might be around for a while.
Congratulations.
So there was a
Which one did you wind up getting? Ooh, nice.
genuine interest in vocal talent, or some biological yearning for the age of public executions, audiences were hooked on American Idol from the very beginning. The program was the breakout hit of the summer of 2002, and as the competition progressed, ratings continued to climb. Of the 10,000 auditions, 121 singers were asked to come to Los Angeles for Hollywood Week, a grueling audition process in which the 3 judges narrowed the field down to just 30 contestants. After this, the true appeal of the program began, as from this point on, it would be up to the audience watching at home to decide which contestants moved on and which were eliminated. The 30 contestants were split into 3 groups of 10, with an episode dedicated to each group. 3 contestants would emerge from each pool, with an additional wildcard show allowing for 1 additional contestant to round out the top 10. From there, 2 contestants were eliminated to create a top 8, and after that, only 1 contestant was eliminated each week. Finally, on September 4th, 2002, the Season 1 finale of American Idol aired. Kelly Clarkson was announced as the show's first winner. As with Pop Idol, the promise of the show was fulfilled, and Clarkson was immediately elevated to mainstream stardom. She signed a record deal under Simon Fuller, and soon she was a legitimate charting musician. It was completely fabricated, planned from the beginning, yet it was more authentic than most industry success stories. The show was filled with these dichotomies: the cruel mixed with the wholesome, the staged mixed with the democratic. The value or morality of the program was up for debate, but it was certainly gripping television audiences. Just 1 season in, the show was already an overwhelming success, both in terms of ratings and star creation. But the phenomenon that would be American Idol was just beginning. While thousands of Americans were dreaming of receiving a golden ticket to the real Hollywood, a fake Hollywood...
I mean, let's be real here. American Idol, well, everyone knew going in that the American Idol that knew that fame was basically a long shot. And let's be real here, YouTube didn't take off yet, so we sadly had to make do with the giant stage a giant live television stage just to get booed on. Those were the days. Right, I talk about the 90s and early 2000s like it was frickin' like I'm someone's frickin' grandpa. Anyway, when did this come out? Okay, early 2000s. Like someone's grandpa. Hey! We take a lot of technology for granted these days. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Wood in the swamps of Florida was struggling with its identity. Disney MGM Studios theme park had been put into development in the mid-1980s, shortly after Michael Eisner had become CEO of Walt Disney Productions. Eisner had come to the company from Paramount Pictures, and he brought with him energy, creativity, and knowledge from a pitch he had been given by MCA in July of 1981 detailing their plans for Universal Studios production facility, tram tour, and theme park in Central Florida. They had plans for a recreation of a Golden Age Hollywood Boulevard, a stunt show, a sound effects demonstration. They wanted him and Paramount on board. He had been shown the plans. He knew the plans. Allegedly. Less than a year after Eisner took the helm at Disney, plans were announced for a new Walt Disney World attraction, named the Disney MGM
Yeah, that wasn't sinister at all.
Disney planned to build production facilities and sound stages for both live action and animation production. This new experience would also feature a recreation of a Golden Age Hollywood Boulevard, a stunt show, a sound effects demonstration, and more. Disney entered into a licensing agreement with MGM to use their name as well as properties from their film library. Similar licensing deals with Paramount and Sony were signed to create a more authentic and modern Hollywood attraction. In late 1986, MCA would finally greenlight the construction of Universal Studios Florida. Due to Disney MGM's similarities to Universal's original plans, MCA evolved their concept to feature more large-scale attractions resembling those found at Disney parks. Meanwhile, the Disney MGM Studios tour was developing into the Disney MGM Studios theme park, which would now feature a tram tour to closer resemble Universal Studios in Hollywood. A key feature of both parks would be the film production facilities being built on site, but Disney MGM was relying on theirs to be the star attraction, with the signature studio tour to last 2 hours. Disney would beat Universal to the punch, with the Disney MGM Studios theme park opening on May 1st, 1989. Along with the studio tour, the park would feature a dark ride depicting scenes from famous films, as well as a stunt show themed to the Indiana Jones franchise. The park also offered several themed dining experiences, and more modest shows and demonstrations were scattered throughout the park. Just off of the Mickey Mouse-shaped hub was Superstar Television, a show in which audience participants were inserted into their favorite television programs through the use of physical sets and clever compositing. Over the course of the 25-minute show, guests would be inserted into vintage shows such as I Love Lucy and The Howdy Doody Show, and contemporary programs such as Cheers and The Golden Girls. The Disney MGM Studios theme park was an overwhelming success in terms of attendance, but it lacked the breadth of attractions that guests had come to expect from a Disney park. Disney already had plans to address this. The popular Disneyland attraction Star Tours was already under construction at the park, and a new Muppets area and attraction was on the way. However, Disney MGM had bigger problems than guest satisfaction. The park was reverse engineered. Rather than a tour being added to an operating movie studio, an operating movie studio was created so that it could be toured. Producers on the West Coast were cautiously optimistic about Orlando becoming the Hollywood of the East, but many were skeptical on Disney's dedication to operating Disney MGM as an actual studio. Less than a year into the park's life, issues had already been found in the design that made production difficult. The New York street set was placed too close to the park's signature Catastrophe Canyon tram stop, which simulated practical film effects such as pyrotechnic explosions and a flood. Sound from this area bled into New York Street and other portions of the backlot, which rendered these filming locations, quote, virtually useless, which in turn hurt the tram tour, because now there were less productions to tour, which was ironic because the reason there were no productions was because of the tram tour. Throughout the 1990s, in almost every
think
instance
someone
in which
didn't
Disney
think
had the
their
choice
cunning
between
plan all the way
improving
through.
The vitality of Disney MGM as an operating movie studio In improving the quality of Disney MGM as a theme park, they almost always chose.
Also, yeah, that sounds fun,
In
Trevin.
1994, a new
Just
expansion
make sure
named
it's not
Sunset
AI.
Boulevard added more shops and the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror thrill ride. In 1998, Superstar Television was closed to make way for Doug Live, which opened on March 15, 1999. Doug Live was based on the television series Doug, and the show translated perfectly to stage, with no issues at all. It closed 2 years later with no planned replacement, leaving this theater space at a prime location in the park empty.
Hey, Orange
In
Mamba.
September of 2001, Disney MGM Studios unveiled the Sorcerer's Hat, a huge hat themed after the iconic cat from the Sorcerer's Apprentice segment in the 1940 film Fantasia. The Sorcerer's Hat was constructed to celebrate the 100 Years of Magic celebration at Walt Disney World, celebrating what would have been the 100th birthday of Walt Disney. Surprising to many guests, the hat would not be deconstructed after the celebration, and it would instead become an icon of the park, and a signifier of a very specific period in Disney MGM history, one that could be described as a middle period, a slump, or even a dark age. At the same time that Disney MGM Studios was entering this dark age, American Idol was entering its golden age. After the success of the show's first season, a second season of American Idol was quickly put into production, moving the program up from its summer slot to begin airing in January of 2003.
You sounded like a dog dying.
The next American Idol.
Season 1 had not only created multiple stars, but it had motivated thousands of prospective ones. The open call for auditions saw 70,000 people try out for the show, and the production had to begin renting out stadiums to handle the crowds. The show started splitting the process over multiple nights, with 3 episodes dedicated just to auditions in Season 2. The number of singers moving on to Hollywood Week was increased from 121 to 234, and this stage now featured multiple elimination rounds, resulting in 32 singers moving on to the semifinals. Other changes this season included Brian Dunkelman quitting the show, leaving Ryan Seacrest as the sole host. Another exit from the show was the foldable audition table with its Party City-esque tablecloth. This was replaced with a more sturdy and sleek-looking table that took a lot of the edge and rawness out of the production. This season also allowed viewers to send their votes in via text message, which one would think was due to young people preferring this method over calling in, but rather, it was cell carriers that were using shows such as American Idol to interest young people in SMS. The rise in texting among young Americans in this period would actually be attributed in part to American Idol pushing it. Another technology evolving alongside the show was digital media players, a landscape that was dominated by...
Yeah, I gotta remember Tactican also getting a massive push when it comes when celebrities are using it.
Instantaneous delivery of singles and albums to audiences would be huge for Idol, which itself was already expediting the path to musical stardom. The show's supplementary media was already strong, with the Season 1 cast having embarked on a tour, recording a compilation album, and filming a television special. A spin-off show, American Juniors, sought to create stars out of a younger pool of contestants, and ended up discovering such talent as Christina DeBarge, Caitlin Tarver, and Lucy Hale. But the show made the mistake of trying to form a child supergroup rather than a single star. The group, also named American Juniors, had 5 members, and only Lucy Hale has a Wikipedia page, F. American Idol's second season concluded with Ruben Studdard narrowly beating out Clay Aiken, and both would find success after the season's conclusion. The show's third season began airing in January of 2004. The season featured more hopeful contestants, more audition sites, and more episodes than the previous season. 5 episodes were now dedicated to auditions, and 2 episodes were dedicated to Hollywood Week. The nightmare that was the audition process was becoming a key part of the show's content and reputation. Long lines, packed stadiums, and the call number taped on the contestant's shirt were all iconic imagery of the full-day affair. For many, this exhausting process was part of the excitement, but it also served as a constant visualization of the improbability of not just winning the competition, but even making it to the celebrity judges' room. The show was also leaning more into the funny auditions, which would result in the most famous funny audition in the show's history, courtesy of a man named William Hung, whose performance of Ricky Martin's She Bangs would become a viral moment.
She bangs! She bangs! I'm
Thank you.
wasted by the way
Thank
she...
you.
This audition was enough to elevate Hung to celebrity status within the American Idol fandom. Many critics speculated if Hung's fame as an anti-idol was due to the show's reliance on humiliation for entertainment, or if the audience's racial bias is where the humor of Hung's performance was being derived. Others took a more optimistic approach, believing Hung's confidence, positive energy, and resilience was the reason so many fans took to him. Regardless, Hung had become a star without going to Hollywood, and the existence of such a success story would motivate the public and the producers to try out more humorous auditions than they already were. Along with this showcase of poor singing ability, the show's third season again found star power in both its winner, Fantasia Barrino, and also in its 7th place finisher, Jennifer Hudson. The same year that American Idol Season 3 aired, Simon Cowell debuted a new singing competition format in the UK named The X Factor. This program was similar to Idol, with a few rule changes that placed more control in the hands of the judges, and Cowell would get full creator credit on the new show. The X Factor's similarities to Idol enraged Simon Fuller, to the point that Fuller sued Cowell over the new program. The two settled out of court, with the reported conditions being that Cowell must stay on as judge of American Idol for 5 additional seasons and must delay the launch of an American version of The X Factor until after this period. Season 4 of American Idol would begin airing in January of 2005, and while this season would have 1 less episode overall, there were now 6 audition episodes and 4 Hollywood Week episodes. The show's star-making power was as strong as ever, with Season 4 winner Carrie Underwood becoming a platinum recording artist within months of winning the competition. American Idol's 2006 season produced winner Taylor Hicks. Hicks would not reach the level of stardom that the show's previous winners had, but Season 5 would find a bigger star in 4th place finisher Chris Daughtry. Season 6 began airing in January of 2007, now with 8...
This is Defunct Land, the American Idol theme park experience. By Defunct Land.
Episodes dedicated to auditions. This season started with strong viewership on par with the show's past success, but ratings gradually began to decline as the competition progressed. Many speculated that this was due to an uninteresting pool of contestants, an overemphasis on celebrity guests, or the show's focus on the bad singers rather than the talented ones. This season also featured an unexpected run by 17-year-old Sanjaya Malakar. Sanjaya showcased his singing ability in his audition, but his performances after Hollywood Week were less than stellar. These lackluster, shaky performances became the most memorable storyline of the season, and despite the frustration of the judges, Sanjaya developed a cult following and continued to escape elimination. Ironic voting campaigns for Sanjaya began, with radio personality Howard Stern pushing his audience to vote for the singer as a joke.
Vote Sanjaya! No, I'm an American! I will vote for Sanjaya!
At the same time, Sanjaya developed an authentic base of young fans who supported him for his looks and hairstyles, which he would dramatically change from week to week. Some speculated that Sanjaya was the reason that Idol was dropping in the ratings, but this was proven false, as after his elimination from the top 7, the ratings dropped even lower, suggesting Sanjaya's presence was actually helping the show. At the very least, the existence of a Sanjaya spelled danger for the competition, as it indicated that American Idol fatigue might be setting in, motivating viewers to memify the voting process just to make the show feel fresh. Despite the show's different ratings, this season would still find A-list talent in its winner, Jordan Sparks. Whether American Idol was a fading star or had simply experienced an off-season, had yet to be determined, but the program was still one of the most popular shows on television, and a bright spot in Fox's lineup. In fact,
Celebrity
American Idol's
cameo
position in pop culture was so strong that a struggling theme park was seeking to borrow some of its star power. Throughout the early 2000s, the Walt Disney World Resort struggled to maintain the theming of some of its signature parks. Both Epcot and Disney MGM Studios were in a similar position. Both had opened with a unique concept, Epcot's being a technology showcase with World's Fair elements, and Disney MGM Studios being an operating movie studio the guests could tour. Both faced unique challenges with their conceit. Epcot could not keep up with the exponential growth of technological innovation, and the park struggled to maintain the corporate sponsorships that helped fund many of the attractions. Disney MGM Studios required the park to constantly court and work with film and television productions, hoping that they set up shop in the park and didn't mind the nearby explosions that were rigged to go off every 20 minutes. In 2001, Disney MGM filled one of its sound stages with a new show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Play It, an interactive recreation of a taping of the popular game show, complete with a Regis Philbin-type host.
You just got yourself 1,000,000 points, yeah!
In 2002, the state of Georgia created a tax incentive program in an attempt to attract entertainment productions to the state. an initiative that would eventually succeed. In the following years, Atlanta would become the production hub that Orlando had once hoped to be. In 2004, with live-action productions already non-existent, Disney shut down its Florida animation studios, officially ending Disney MGM's time as a working film and television studio. While the lack of corporate sponsors for Epcot and the lack of productions for Disney MGM were huge issues, there was a bigger problem with both themes from a guest perspective. Both Epcot and Disney MGM were conceived at a time in which Walt Disney World was seeking diversity in their attractions. A vacation to Walt Disney World in the late 1980s and early 1990s would feature the thrills and fun of an amusement park, as well as edutainment experiences in subjects such as technology, culture, and entertainment production. However, over time, guest demand indicated that the theme park experience itself, with its unique presentation of storytelling and thrills, was more engaging than a wide variety of experiences. For general audiences, 2 themed thrill rides was better than 1 thrill ride and 1 edutainment demonstration. This left Disney MGM and Epcot in a predicament. With so much infrastructure and attractions dedicated to their respective concepts, both needed to pivot to meet the demands of guests without completely abandoning their original themes. The solution for both would be similar. Epcot would remain a park focused on technology and information, but new attractions would be built that presented these topics in the most thrilling and adrenaline-focused manner imaginable. 1999's Test Track and 2003's Mission Space were original attractions that focused on key industrial themes, transportation and space respectively, but both did so with a focus on speed and force. Disney MGM would transition from a park showcasing the behind-the-scenes of actual entertainment productions to being a park with attractions themed to the entertainment industry. 1999's Rock and Roller Coaster and 2005's Lights, Motors, Action Extreme Stunt Show were still within Disney MGM's Hollywood theme, but both were focused more on intensity, and when combined with Star Tours and Tower of Terror, Disney MGM gained a reputation as a park for older kids who were seeking thrills. In August of 2007, it was announced that Disney would finally excise MGM from the park's name. MGM and Disney had been in conflict over the name usage since before the park opened, but despite Disney still legally having the rights to use the MGM name, it no longer represented the direction of the park. Many speculated that the new name would incorporate the ABC television network or Pixar Studios, both of which had been acquired by Disney. However, the new name for the park would simply be Disney's Hollywood Studios, leading many to point out that there were no longer operating studios in the park. Despite new attractions and the name change, the park was still in desperate need of a hit. An attraction so appealing that every Walt Disney World visitor would be forced to find time to visit the park. Disney's Hollywood Studios needed a star, and it had something big in mind. An experience that would keep the park above water based on a property that America could not get enough of: Toy Story. In 2007, it was announced that a new interactive Toy Story ride, named Toy Story Mania, would be coming to Disney's Hollywood Studios. This shooting dark ride would utilize 3D imagery and interactive screen technology, allowing guests to participate in a series of carnival games hosted by Toy Story characters. At the same time that the Imagineers were working on this, they were also working on an attraction themed to American Idol. In February 2008, Disney announced that they had entered a licensing agreement with Fremantle Media and 19 Entertainment, the producers of American Idol, in order to create an attraction based on the show. This new attraction would utilize the theater space left empty by Doug Live in the former ABC television theater. The description of the attraction seemed to combine elements of the original Superstar Television and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Play It, allowing guests to participate in the park's own version of the American Idol television show. Early plans indicated that the attraction would feature 24 audience participants, ages 14 and up, competing in a dramatic singing competition live on stage. Disney Parks chairman Jay Rasulo indicated that rather than 3 judges with entertainment industry experience, 3 audience members would be pulled on stage to judge the performers, with a Disney cast member serving as host to facilitate the new show, likely to appear as a Ryan Seacrest type. While many of the details were still being decided at the time of the announcement, Disney did reveal the attraction's grand prize for the winning singer.
I bet most of them wanted to act like Simon Cowell.
Actual American Idol audition, a lucrative item that could save American Idol hopefuls from trudging through the dreadfully long audition process. Disney, Fremantle, and 19 Entertainment clarified that these contestants would have no advantage in the producers' decision-making, only that they would not have to wait like everyone else. There were still many questions about how exactly this competition would work and operate within a theme park. It was predicted that the American Idol attraction would have 6 to 8 shows per day, but just one grand prize would be awarded. It was also estimated that around 400 guests would be able to audition. Initial concept art indicated that a major overhaul of the ABC television theater would occur, with a grand entrance alongside Echo Lake. However, this planned renovation was scaled back significantly, with the theater's exterior to be changed very little, with the most notable addition being a large video screen. Disney celebrated the announcement of the attraction by staging an excited crowd at Hollywood studios in the vein of those seen on American Idol, complete with homemade signs that said Disney Rocks, Hi Mom, and Pick Me Dog. Throughout early 2008, the stage of the Superstar Television Theater was transformed into one that closely resembled the set of the show, with American Idol set designer Andy Walmsley consulted on the design. The set featured a 35-foot by 7-foot video wall, 1,000 seats, a 3,000 square foot stage, and 113 video screens. While the attraction was being designed and constructed, American Idol Season 7 was underway, and the ratings for the show continued to fall. The brightest spot of the season was the thrilling finale, in which David Cook barely beat out David Archuleta after the competition received the highest finale vote total in American Idol history. After Cook's win, he shouted the iconic phrase, "I'm going to Disney World."
I'm going to Disney World!
And a commercial was created utilizing this moment, in the same format as the famous series of Disney Super Bowl advertisements. The commercial featured a rendition of When You Wish Upon a Star sung by Cook.
When you wish...
This display of synergy between the Fox show and Disney, owners of rival network ABC, might have been surprising to many viewers, but this is because they weren't paying attention, not to the theme park news, but to the true underlying loyalty of both corporations. As since their inception, the Disney parks have had a close partnership with soft drink manufacturer Coca-Cola. And anyone that has watched American Idol for more than 2 frames knows that the program also has a close partnership with Coca-Cola.
You're a sweetheart, you're a sweet soul, and it comes across when you sing.
Well, it's
After nearly
showbiz.
a year of development on the stage and format,
Gotta have sponsors.
the new attraction, officially named the American Idol Experience, was ready to open to guests. A few soft opening previews occurred in January of 2009 to work out the kinks of the new attraction's format, but the official opening would not be until the following month. Finally, on February 12, 2009, Disney rolled out the blue carpet for the first official round of hopeful pop stars to take the stage at the American Idol Experience. A gala was held to celebrate the attraction's opening, and it was truly a star-studded affair. Journalists from around the country were invited to the gala, and if you squinted your eyes or videotaped it in 144p, the event appeared to be a true Hollywood premiere. Corralled theme park guests, journalists, and even Disney characters lined the blue carpet, and a special motorcade was held with an impressive cast of special guests, including Ryan Seacrest, Paula Abdul, and multiple recent American Idol finalists. For the first time ever, all 7 American Idol winners, David Cook, Jordan Sparks, Taylor Hicks, Carrie Underwood, Fantasia Barrino, Ruben Studdard, and Kelly Clarkson all appeared together. An actual run of the American Idol Experience was occurring simultaneously to this event, with guests competing in the singing competition, but the hopeful idols took a back seat to the real ones. The big show of the day, in which the American Idol Experience winners were to be announced, focused very little on the attraction and its contestants, instead dedicating time to multiple musical performances, including ones by David Cook and Carrie Underwood. Ryan Seacrest came out to host the show, and he even got to interact with the attraction's Ryan Seacrest-type host.
Couldn't have gotten a bigger guy? They gave me all your old students. That's right.
Every American Idol celebrity guests were asked the same 2 questions. First, was the American Idol Experience like the real thing?
Apparently it looks exactly like last year's stage.
Looks just like American Idol in Hollywood. It is very, very realistic.
It's fantastic. It's very exciting.
Second, what advice do you have for those participating in the American Idol Experience?
Just have fun. You gotta have fun. Enjoy life.
Be responsible and go to school.
During the press event, all 7 winners were presented a trophy by Ryan and series creator Simon Fuller. This microphone trophy was created by the same designer that...
I'm drawing my Vulpix star that I adopted a while ago. And meaning to get a better ref of them done earlier, but just been busy.
created the Oscar statuettes, and it was to be awarded on the actual show in future seasons. The 7 American Idol winners were awarded their retroactive trophies one by one, then forced to hold them for several minutes while the winner of that day's American Idol experience was announced. Gold confetti rained down and fireworks exploded in the theater. It truly was an American Idol experience. But it was not the American Idol experience. The attraction received great reviews from the media that had attended the gala and been dazzled by the literal parade of stars, but this was not an accurate depiction of the attraction. What was this going to be when Carrie Underwood wasn't here?
Hey, it wasn't going to be a
Ryan
1-to-1,
Seacrest
everyone
wasn't
knew that.
hosting? What actually was the American Idol experience? Two days after the gala, on February 14th, 2009, the American Idol experience officially opened to guests. For those wanting to participate in the show, the experience began the moment they entered the park.
I thought I would take you in and show you what it's going to be like to have dreams come true here at the American Idol experience.
The hopeful idols were directed to the back of the Superstar Television Theater, where they would find the American Idol experience audition entrance. This backstage area was just as themed as the stage itself, and those brave enough to try out were taken through a unique experience. Guests were handed an audition card with a Q&A and a list of 113 songs to choose from for their audition, including Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, Colors of the Wind from Pocahontas, Achy Breaky Heart by Billy Ray Cyrus, and Play My Music by the Jonas Brothers. The first stage of the process was an a cappella audition between the guest and a casting director in a private room. This intricately themed room was a one-to-one recreation of the normal boring rooms that tens of thousands of people get their dreams crushed in across the country during the actual American Idol audition process. It even had a
Great
desk.
attention to accuracy there.
There were 4 of these private casting rooms. After touring the attraction, Canadian Idol winner Eva Avila said that this room was very authentic, and that, quote, the office part with the producers was actually dead on exactly like when I auditioned. Most guests would be rejected at this point and given some advice for their future performances. The few that did make it forward moved on to the Red Room, in which contestants were given an iPod with the most intense security lock possible, so that they could rehearse their performance and familiarize themselves with the lyrics. This room was also referred to as the Coke Room, which was either a reference to the soft drink sponsorship or a way to really prepare these contestants for Hollywood. Auditioners would then be
Yeah,
called
it's
into
soft
a
drink.
second office
Disney's
room.
not that
This
cool.
room was even more impressive, featuring a flat screen TV with the lyrics to the song and a camera to capture the performance. If the guests passed this audition, they were sent forward to perform on stage.
You get to go to the show!
At this point, they would be assigned to one of the 7 preliminary shows occurring throughout the day, and they were allowed to go explore the rest of Disney's Hollywood studios until their call time, which would be an hour before their show time. Once they returned, guests waited in a green room and were pulled into both hair and makeup and a practice room in which a vocal coach would work with them before their performance. Finally, before the crowd was allowed into the theater, the singers were able to rehearse their song on stage. To those visiting Disney's Hollywood studios that only wanted to watch the American Idol experience, they entered the Superstar Television Theater under the large marquee. The unique covered pre-show corral was originally designed for Superstar Television, and it featured a ramp design that matched the slope of the theater itself. At the bottom of this was an area in which a cast member could host a pre-show for guests. In Superstar Television, this is where guests would be pulled to participate in the show. In the American Idol experience, guests would watch a short video in which Ryan Seacrest described the process that the performers had gone through to this point. A pre-show host would then enter to hype up the crowd, accompanied by a cameraman. This host would then film a brief segment, instructing the crowd to say something specific in order to surprise one of the contestants later in the show. After this, the crowd would enter the theater, and the American Idol experience show would finally begin. The preliminary show lasted around 25 minutes. The pre-show host would come out and get the crowd excited and ready to be a supportive audience for the group of performers.
And start rocking like this. Every day I'm shuffling.
After this, a short intro video featuring Ryan Seacrest would play on the large screen. This would lead into a faux credit sequence, with the names of that show's contestants displayed on the screen. After this, the Ryan Seacrest type would come out on stage and take over hosting duties, introducing the 3 contestants as they marched out from backstage and hit their mark. The host would then introduce the grand prize, the Golden Dream Ticket. the coveted front-of-the-line pass that evoked the iconography of the golden ticket that sent Idol contestants to Hollywood. It was described as the best fast pass ever. Fast pass. The age range for the competition was, according to at least one Ryan Seacrest type, between, quote, 14 and death, despite the American Idol television show having an age range between 16 and 28. The host would explain that the winner of the Golden Dream ticket could gift it to a friend or family member, but they were not allowed to sell it. The 3 contestants were asked to leave the stage, and the 3 judges were then introduced. The original plan to have audience members fill in as the judges was abandoned, in favor of 3 actors mimicking the American Idol judge types, trying to match the energy of Randy Jackson, Paula Abdul, and Simon Cowell. In order to make the 3 actors seem qualified to judge the contestants, their resumes were listed out by the host. This part in the show is almost like a magic trick, because anyone that would be hired in a performance-based role such as this at the park would already have a resume with other entertainment industry projects on it. So the host reading them makes them sound like highly sought-after talent judges and not just working performers past their 20s. While the panel would be switched out with different actors filling each role, the typical portrayal was that the Randy type would be the most constructive to the contestant.
It's about your initial attack on the song, which will determine how well you do.
The Paula type would be the most positive. And the Simon type, somewhat surprisingly, would be mean.
I never intend to be mean or hurtful, but these singers will probably give me no choice.
Of course, fake Simon could not be as cruel as real Simon.
Juvenile, tuneless, mediocre, and horrible.
Simon was in a bad mood.
As this was Disney World and the contestants are paying park guests, but he would be as rude as possible without going too far over the line.
You are too hot.
Always has to compromise.
The audience was encouraged to boo fake Simon as if he were a villain in a melodrama. The 3 contestants would come out one at a time to perform. Before their performance, they would be given a staged introduction in one of 3 ways. The first was pre-taped advice from an American Idol contestant.
Just have fun with it.
These segments were filmed and the contestant was placed in such a way to make it appear that the idol was speaking directly to them. The second introduction was a video biography that the contestant would shoot while they waited for their performance. These would hone in on an interesting, relatable, or sympathetic aspect of the singer's character, in a similar way that the TV show treated its vignettes.
What brought me to American Idol is, first we were here on vacation.
At one point in my life, I found myself homeless, living out of my car.
The final introduction was a crowd of fans chanting the contestant's name. This was the surprise that the audience had filmed in the pre-show corral. The crowd shot was a way to increase audience participation in the show, and it was a nice surprise for the singer, even though this moment was completely fabricated and directed by the pre-show host. These were fake fans. Literally. Each performance would last about 90 seconds and was immediately followed by critiques from each judge. Reportedly, the producers of the attraction would try to place the strongest singer in the final spot in hopes that the recency bias would move them forward in the competition. After all of the contestants had performed, the Ryan Seacrest type would introduce another pre-taped Idol cameo featuring Jordan Sparks, who would lead the audience in a rendition of I've Got the Music in Me. For clarification, I've Got the Music in Me is a 1974 song by the Kiki D Band. It is not You Are the Music in Me by the cast of High School Musical 2, which was being performed just a few feet away in front of the Sorcerer's Hat. Coincidentally, this video featured Jordan Sparks and other singers performing outside the Sorcerer's Hat, along with footage of the Lights Motors Action Extreme Stunt Show. After this, voting would begin, and highlights from the 3 performances were displayed, reminding audience members of each contestant's designated number. The voting mechanism was embedded in the seat's armrest, and within seconds, the audience was polled and the results were tallied. The Ryan Seacrest type would round up the contestants and dramatize the reveal. The lights on stage turned red, and just like the television show, the contestants were read a recap of their performance and the judges' reactions. The Ryan type would often make a joke about cutting to commercial.
Should we cut to like a Ford video or something, or we just...
Before finally revealing the winner. Another pre-taped idol would congratulate the contestant, and the Ryan type would wrap up the show, reminding guests that the competition was just beginning, because the winner of the preliminary round did not win the Golden Dream ticket, but rather the opportunity to move on to the American Idol Experience finale show that would be occurring later that evening. There were as many as 7 preliminary shows per day for a total of 21 singers competing for a spot in the finale. Each preliminary show's winner would move forward, resulting in as many as 7 singers competing in the final show. If a singer moved on to the finale, they were allowed to explore the theme park that they had paid to enter before their second call time of the day, again being asked to arrive at the attraction an hour before showtime. The final show began with the Ryan type introducing the 7 contestants and then the judges. This show would last around 40 minutes, 15 minutes longer than the preliminary rounds, to account for the additional contestants. Each singer would take the stage one by one, preceded by advice from an idol star or the contestant's video biography if they had created one during the preliminary round. The last performer to be introduced would receive the chanting pre-show crowd, which was the only segment to be reshot for the finale show, again in order to add to the sense of audience participation. The finale show was unique in that it was the only show to be displayed on the screen outside of the attraction near Echo Lake, allowing the Ryan type to claim that the show was being broadcast live, which was technically true, although it was likely no one was watching. After all of the singers had performed, an American Idol celebrity would appear on the screen and speak to the full group of contestants. The audience would vote for the finale's winner, and the Ryan type would draw out the results, eliminating 1 or 2 of the final contestants at a time until the top 2 singers remained on stage. After stalling as long as possible, the Ryan type would finally reveal the winner. Gold confetti rained down as the singer was presented the Golden Dream Ticket. The show closed with more pre-taped appearances by Idol winners sending their congratulations to the newly crowned champion, before the Ryan type waved goodbye and the American Idol experience concluded for the day.
You never know, you could be the next American Idol!
From an audience perspective, the attraction was initially met with mixed to positive reviews. Fans of the experience loved how similar the competition was to the American Idol television show. Others felt that the experience was merely karaoke with elaborate set dressing, and if the competitors of any given show were not exceptionally talented singers, this review was more common. However, from the perspective of the performers, the attraction was incredible, a bespoke, intricately themed adventure through the world of music, entertainment, and all things American Idol, culminating with them getting to perform in front of a live audience of tourists, far more than most karaoke bars or school talent shows would allow. Even those that were not chosen to perform often walked away with glowing reviews, as the Disney cast members tasked with turning hundreds of people down per day were exceptionally kind and impressively trained in the art of rejection.
So good job, I can't pass you through today. It's fine.
Others, on the other hand, still felt a bit odd about the process after getting turned away. One forum poster at the time explained their experience, how they auditioned for the show during soft opening for fun, not expecting to get on, but after getting rejected did, quote, feel a little bad the rest of the day, and that it felt weird being at the park after being, quote, rejected by Disney.
It's all part of the experience.
The cruelty of the Simon type judge also depended on the performer and their improv, and while most of the time, this character's biggest insult was suggesting that a performer should take singing lessons, some comments could be much more pointed.
It sounded like a Norse god gargling a hammer.
The mean-spirited nature of the character was authentic to the television show, but not in line with the expectations of a Disney theme park. Compare this to Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor, a comedy show that opened at the Magic Kingdom in 2007. This virtual puppetry show relies on audience participation and is set in a fictional comedy club. But the furthest the monster comedians will ever go is some softball joke about how a random person in the audience is going to buy everyone churros after the show. Completely toothless, cowardly even, to look out on a crowd of sweaty, entitled Walt Disney World tourists and pull punches like that. But these are paying guests and also children, so the furthest you should go is saying that someone is feeling the urge to get up and dance. I guess in-universe the funniest Mike Wazowski gets is just getting racked as if he has reproductive organs on the bottom crest of his sphere body. But the point is, insulting paying customers and children is a big risk. And if your themed environment is a comedy club or a mean-spirited reality show, you should probably just go through the motions. Fake Simon, at times, did not fall in line with this idea.
The bridge part, I consider jumping off on.
In these instances, the attraction's reception was the most split, with some being legitimately offended and others finding it genuinely funny. However, reception was not the main issue with the American Idol experience. Daily operation was. The elaborate nature of the competition required a huge time commitment from contestants. When auditioning, guests were told that, if they were to make it to the finale, 6 hours of their park day would be dedicated to the attraction. This was around half of the park's operating hours. On top of this, contestants could not join lines at other attractions if the wait would make them miss their callback time. Disney did sometimes offer fast passes to contestants so they could enjoy the park, But for the most part, the American Idol experience was an all-day affair for those performing. For many, this was not an issue, and they knew this going in. Dream Ticket winner Claire Ann Martin said, quote, "We planned our whole week around the Disney Idol experience. We heard about it online, and we decided that we definitely wanted to try it out." Claire also said that, quote, "Getting the ticket was the high point of my life." She was only 14 at the time, so that's fine. The biggest issue that the operations team faced was recruitment. To coincide with the attraction's debut and to attract potential contestants, Disney created a web page with information on the process and how to audition. There was also a mini-game called Judge This that allowed you to play as a judge.
La 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 la.
Nice. I got a dog from the Randy type.
Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. Take me out to the ball game, take me out with the crowd. Row, row, row your boat.
Wow, this is an old website. Just look at that graphic in the corner. On this site, guests could sign up to audition ahead of their visit to Hollywood studios. The attraction would mainly rely on walk-ins and would cut off auditions when all of the shows were filled or at 2 p.m., whichever came first. The American Idol experience relied on a constantly refreshing pool of contestants, making daily operation less predictable than a typical theater show. But there were other issues on the horizon. The American Idol experience's debut in 2009 coincided with several turning points in the history of Disney, the American Idol television show, and the world as a whole. The most obvious was the Great Recession, which was in full swing while the attraction was being developed and was still ongoing when it opened. At the same time that Disney was developing the American Idol experience, the parks were feeling the effects of the economic downturn, with many families not having the resources to spend money on vacations. Considering the scale of the recession, the Disney parks fared better than many expected, thanks in part to Disney offering generous promotions, such as free admission on a guest's birthday. Still, the company laid off 1,400 people at Walt Disney World due to the downturn. These layoffs began 4 days after the American Idol experience opened. Apart from the recession, another global trend was occurring. This one, cultural. The accessibility of the internet was growing at an exponential rate, and the ability to share media was becoming easier and easier. And almost overnight, real mainstream stars were being discovered on platforms such as YouTube. For instance, Justin Bieber became the world's premier teen pop idol, despite having never served his time in the gauntlet of shame known as American Idol. The internet took the American Idol competition, once the fastest track to stardom, and made it look like a slow process in comparison. The American Idol Season 7 finale set the record for the highest number of votes cast, but the show itself was dipping in the ratings. The show's 5th season, which aired in 2006, received an average of 30 million viewers per episode. By the show's 8th season in 2009, this was down to around 21 million viewers per episode. As the ratings continued to slip, more change was on its way. When Season 8 began airing in 2009, songwriter and producer Cara DioGuardi was added to the panel of judges. While DioGuardi no doubt had the industry experience to serve on the panel, many speculated what this change meant for the future of Idol and the show's original 3 judges. Rumors circulated that Paula Abdul was set to leave the show, but this was denied by both Abdul and DioGuardi. Season 8 attempted to scale back on the show's trademark cruelty, putting more focus on sympathetic contestant biographies, which were derogatorily referred to as sob stories by critics.
I live with my 93-year-old grandmother.
Do you know that I sing?
Do I what?
This season was won by Chris Allen, who beat Adam Lambert to win the competition. Allen taped his own Walt Disney World commercial and traveled to the resort for a special appearance at the American Idol experience. Allen also filmed new segments for the attraction, which were integrated throughout the show.
And I know they'd appreciate any encouragement.
Just get up there and have fun.
Despite denying her intention to leave the program, in August of 2009, Paula Abdul announced on Twitter that she would not be returning for American Idol Season 9, with pay disputes being cited as the reason. Simon, Randy, and DioGuardi would be returning, and the producers raced to fill the empty seat before the next season. They needed to find someone who was marketable, likable, easygoing, and all around kind.
I am the next
Idol.
Oh!
Generous. This was also the season in which General Larry Platt auditioned with his original song,
Yeah, that did not
Pants
age
on the
well.
Ground, which to this day is still charting #1 in the minds of American fathers.
Pants on the ground, looking like a fool with your pants on the ground.
The top 5 this season featured singer Aaron Kelly, the youngest to ever make it this far in the competition, at just 16 years old when he auditioned, and 17 years old when he was eliminated. Kelly is also notable in that he was a Golden Dream Ticket winner, getting to skip to the front of the line at his American Idol audition as he had won the American Idol experience at Disney's Hollywood Studios. After his top 5 finish, Kelly would be integrated into the show at the park as proof of the value of the Golden Dream Ticket. Season 9 of American Idol was won by Lee DeWise, and just like Chris Allen and David Cook, DeWise did a Walt Disney World commercial, made an appearance at the resort and the American Idol experience, and filmed segments for the attraction to be integrated into the show.
The best advice I can give you is and have fun with it.
After Season 9, the judging panel experienced even more shakeups, with Diaguardi, DeGeneres, and most notably, Simon Cowell leaving the program. Diaguardi and DeGeneres explained the show wasn't a fit for them, but Cowell's reasoning was more predictable. The period stipulated by the settlement with Fuller had ended, and Cowell was able to both leave American Idol and launch X Factor in the US. Cowell would not only premiere the show, but he would partner with Fremantle and Fox to do so, once again enraging Simon Fuller. Fuller again sued, seeking executive producer credit and a fee, and the case was eventually settled out of court. X Factor in the UK had proven to be a star maker, having discovered and formed the boy band One Direction. The US version would also find success in the group Fifth Harmony. The same year that the X Factor debuted, another singing competition came to the US. The Voice was a format that originated in Holland and would debut in the US on NBC. The show's format and marketing was a direct response to Idol, which had been accused of being too focused on a contestant's appearance and not focusing enough on the voice. Get it? The show's positive attitude and inspiring kind-hearted format has resulted in 24 seasons of friendly competition and genuinely beautiful moments, while at the same time producing 0 mainstream recording artists as winners. The actual reason for The Voice's success as a television show and failure as a star launcher, with a few runner-ups as exceptions, is more complicated than simply pretty people sell more records, but also, that might be part of it. With Cal moving on to X Factor, Diaguardi focusing on music, and Ellen DeGeneres going back to Ellen, Idol was forced to go in a new direction. While Randy Jackson would remain, 2 new judges would be added, singer and actress Jennifer Lopez, and Aerosmith frontman Steven Tyler, known for his appearance in Hollywood Studios' signature e-ticket attraction Rock and Roller Coaster, and recently for alleged crimes. This season was won by Scotty McCreery, the first winner since the attraction opened to not receive an I'm Going to Disney World commercial, but he did visit the resort and film segments for the attraction.
Do you have any advice? You just went through this. Have fun.
Occasionally, other contestants would film short segments for the experience, which were often played outside of the attraction on the big screen.
Head right around the corner to the audition experience. You never know. This could be the start of something. There.
Season 11 began airing in 2012, with Ryan and the Season 10 panel of judges returning for another year. This season featured 10th place finisher Erica Van Pelt, another American Idol Dream Ticket winner. Van Pelt told The Hollywood Reporter, quote, "The American Idol experience changed everything for me. I had auditioned for the show several times before, but winning the Dream Ticket was the game changer. The American Idol experience gave me a taste of the real thing, down to the smallest detail. Live audience voting, charismatic hosts, and a good Simon Judge-alike or two. The Dream Ticket gave me the opportunity to go to the front of the line at the auditions in Pittsburgh for Season 11, which ultimately led me to securing a spot in the top 10. I am so grateful for the opportunity." This season was won by Philip Phillips. As expected, Phillips took a trip to the resort, appeared on stage at the attraction, and filmed new segments for the show.
Let me ask you something. These 3 right here, they are competing to get to that finale show tonight to win that Dream Ticket. What advice do you have?
Have fun. Idol's ratings continue to drop, with Season 11 averaging around 19 million viewers per episode, far from the 30 million viewers it had received just 5 years earlier. After Season 11, another shakeup on the judging panel occurred. Randy Jackson would again return, but Lopez and Tyler would exit. Keith Urban would join the panel, along with Mariah Carey and Nicki Minaj, who would fortunately have an alleged off-screen feud, leading fans of both to speculate on the matter, giving a bit of energy to the dying program.
Like, we can have accessories. I didn't know that was allowed. But that's the last thing I'm gonna say.
Again, back to the Billboard Hot 100 #1 song, which you just performed, which is difficult to get. Not everybody has that.
This season was won by Candace Glover, who went to Disney World and filmed an appearance for the attraction.
Have fun.
Another shakeup on the judging panel occurred between seasons 12 and 13, with not only Nikki and Mariah leaving, but with Randy Jackson finally exiting as well. Only Keith Urban remained from the previous season, and was joined by Harry Connick Jr. and returning judge Jennifer Lopez. This season featured multiple Dream Ticket winners competing in the show: Majesty Rose, Ben Briley, and Emily Prees, who would finish 9th, 11th, and 12th respectively. This season ended in May of 2014, with Caleb Johnson winning the competition. Unlike previous winners, Johnson's trip to Walt Disney World was not met with fanfare, but he did reportedly go and film new segments for the attraction. However, these segments would not be seen for very long, as Disney's Hollywood Studios was undergoing just as much change as the American Idol television show. In the years following the Disney's Hollywood Studios name change and the addition of the American Idol experience, the Walt Disney Company was experiencing a period of massive growth and acquisitions. In late 2009, Disney acquired Marvel Entertainment, and in 2012, the company acquired Lucasfilm, including the rights to the Star Wars franchise. These acquisitions meant the development of cinematic universes and theme park lands, the latter being necessary to compete with Universal's successful Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Of all 4 Walt Disney World parks, it was immediately obvious to those both within and outside of the company that if any park was to receive a full-scale Star Wars area, it would be Disney's Hollywood Studios. This was not only because of the established presence of Star Tours, but also because of the park's desperate need for a new major attraction. Toy Story Midway Mania had given the park a boost in popularity, but in the 5 years since its debut, no other major attractions were added to support it. To offset this, the park relied on special events, such as Frozen Summer Fun, which premiered in June of 2014. This event brought temporary shows and entertainment offerings to the park, capitalizing on the massive success of 2013's Frozen and the insatiable demand for Frozen experiences from young guests. During this event, a new show named For the First Time in Forever, a Frozen Sing-Along Celebration, took place in the rarely utilized Premiere Theater, and allowed families to sing along to the film's songs, led by Anna, Elsa, and other Frozen characters. These types of temporary experiences were common for Hollywood studios in this era, and many guests assumed that it was only a matter of time before a major Star Wars attraction was announced for the park. However, before any expansions were revealed, multiple attraction closings were announced, and on June 17, 2014, the American Idol experience was added to the lineup of closures. The attraction's popularity had declined over the years, as had guest participation. On many days, the experience did not recruit enough talented performers to fill all 7 shows, resulting in some showtimes being canceled and a condensed finale show with less participants. Occasionally, only 2 preliminary rounds were held, resulting in a finale show with only 2 contestants, and on some rare occasions, only 1 show was held, with no other preliminary rounds and no finale. This was especially troubling because of how many cast members the show required to operate. The show needed a pre-show host, a Ryan type, 3 judges, multiple camera operators, and 3 booth techs for each show. On top of this, the audition facility had a street team to recruit guests, casting directors to judge them, and hair and makeup technicians. It was an impressive operation, but a complicated one to operate on a daily basis. The American Idol experience's decline in popularity was not completely its fault. Rather, it was directly correlated with the declining viewership of the American Idol television show. Not only was the attraction not as enticing from a guest perspective, but its grand prize of skipping the audition line was not as valuable as it was at the peak of the program's popularity. A joint statement between Disney, Fremantle Media, and 19 Entertainment read, quote, "We are incredibly proud of the more than 2,000 Dream tickets that have given guests a chance to live their very own Cinderella story and audition for American Idol." The attraction was set to close in January of 2015, which would result in the American Idol experience running for just under 6 years. However, 2 months after the announcement of its closure, on August 15, 2014, Disney revealed that the show would be closing even earlier, just 2 weeks from this announcement. On August 30th, 2014, the final show of the American Idol experience was held.
Folks, are you ready for the last finale show ever?
Guests crowded the theater to send off the attraction, some even making signs expressing their disappointment at its closure. The final show ended with the dumping of every box of confetti that the production had left, and this went on for several minutes. The closing of the American Idol experience marked the beginning
Yeah,
and
may
end
as well.
of the dark age of Hollywood studios. The following month, the Studio Backlot Tour, which had not toured an operating movie studio in over a decade, finally closed to make way for two new immersive lands, Toy Story Land and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. The following month, in October of 2014, it was announced that the Sorcerer's Hat would be removed as well. Hollywood studios began a years-long transformation, leaving it in a worse state than before, as the massive construction projects caused the closure of more attractions and the creation of more temporary ones. The Superstar Television Theater sat empty for several months with no announced replacement. The space was briefly used for the Comedy Warehouse Holiday Special, featuring the comedy troupe that used to perform at the Comedy Warehouse at downtown Disney's Pleasure Island. The American Idol stage was still intact, and tarps were placed to cover up the theming for these shows. In March of 2015, Disney announced that for the first time in forever, a Frozen sing-along celebration would return for the second annual Frozen Summer Fun. Rather than being held in the Premiere Theater, which was set for demolition, the show would utilize the Superstar Television Theater. The American Idol theming had been mostly removed, and the theater received a new name, the Hyperion Theater. This would allow the theater to act as a flex space and host multiple shows throughout the year. On June 16, 2015, performances of, for the first time in forever, a Frozen sing-along celebration began in the theater. Despite this being announced as a limited run, the show would stay a part of the park's attractions after Frozen Summer Fun ended, becoming a permanent replacement for the American Idol experience. The Hyperion Theater would not be used for another show until 2023, during the Jollywood Nights ticketed event, during which it would host What's This? Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas sing-along. This temporary show would only be performed during Jollywood Nights, and the Frozen sing-along operated as normal throughout the day. On the back side of the theater, the former American Idol audition entrance was converted into a new character spot for the park, named Mickey and Minnie Starring in Red Carpet Dreams. Season 14 of American Idol premiered in January of 2015.
Yeah, thank you.
And for the first time in years, the entire judging panel from the previous season returned. Despite the American Idol experience attraction being closed, hundreds of Golden Dream tickets were still eligible to be redeemed. Dream Ticket winner Adam Ezagalian auditioned and made it to the top 16 before being eliminated. This season was won by Nick Fradiani, and no offense to Nick Fradiani, but you likely don't recognize that name, which is proof of American Idol's slipping grip on the cultural consciousness. This is why it was not a shock that Fox announced that American Idol would be ending after season 15. This season premiered in early 2016 and was won by either Chris Hayes, Stephen Hines, or Trent Harmon. And if you can tell me which one of those people are real without looking it up, you will win this certificate. This season was branded as American Idol The Farewell Season, which was an authentic goodbye, but not to the show, only the network. Just a year and a half after going off of the air, ABC and Fremantle Media entered into an agreement to revive the show, which would return for a 16th season in March of 2018. Ryan Seacrest returned as host, and a new panel of judges, featuring Luke Bryan, Katy Perry, and Lionel Richie, would join the show. This group has somehow remained consistent for 6 seasons with a 7th on the way.
There's no place like American Idol.
American Idol was representative of America itself. Obviously, it's right there in the name. And it was a reflection of our obsession with the idolization of celebrities, dang, also right there in the name. It's difficult to say anything about American Idol that the show itself doesn't admit overtly and unabashedly. Often the show was cruel, which it claimed was a side effect of honesty. The show was obsessed with body image and sex appeal, which it claimed was a key aspect of stardom. The show sought to discover and promote talent just to profit off of them, which it admitted very clearly was the whole point. It's difficult to dismiss any of these beliefs as shallow or cynical when the show was consistently successful in churning out legitimate mainstream stars.
Yeah, it was basically honest.
Reality TV show
that
genre,
was the appeal.
democratic talent competitions, or the aesthetic requirements of early-aught stardom, but it became a landmark example of all three. It was a reflection of the culture of that era, and in being so, it became a staple of it. The American Idol experience attempted to capture and distill that energy into a family-friendly theme park attraction, to mixed results. The attraction did its best to balance the show's tone, talent, and energy, all while being entertaining to theme park guests, but its success was directly tied to the relevance of the television show that it was based on. Whether it was the shakeup in its cast, the emergence of faster star generators, or America falling out of love with television and in love with the internet, by the time the American Idol experience debuted, American Idol was past its prime. The American Idol television show survived and evolved into a feel-good television program, that, like its contemporaries, is less concerned about turning its competitors into A-listers. However, the American Idol experience was simply too complicated and expensive to run, and its real estate too valuable to survive the transition that Disney's Hollywood Studios was undergoing. The attraction is most fondly remembered by those that had the chance to participate in the full thing. The elaborate backstage audition process, invisible to the audience, was truly an experience like no other at a theme park. And for those that were talented and dedicated enough to spend an entire day's admission on participating in it, it was all worth it when they saw that desk.
So yeah, that was Defunct Blend's video on American Idol. It was basically the epitome of product of its time. American Idol was. Yeah, I don't think it's worth bringing it back. Obvious reasons. Yeah, let's see. I think I'm just gonna play some music. Decent. I launched the programming. Axel, gotta read on Axel chat. Okay, there we go. Ah, dang it. Camera crashed. Ain't when that happens. There we go. Ah, hold on. Bit of an audio issue. Okay, I think I fixed it. Thank you, Pixels. Next. It's maybe a fair bit too big. Yeah, I'll figure it out. I don't know, the features once like behind this eventually. Oh, I almost forgot the tails. Alright. Alright. Well, unfortunately, my energy's kind of spent right now, so I think I'm gonna call it here. I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight, and I will see you all next time. Take care, everyone.